The Hudsucker Proxy is a 1994 comedy film. The plot of the film revolves around Norval Barnes, who's an immature but ambitious business school graduate. He's hired as president of a manufacturing company despite his zero experience in the practical world. Little does he know that he's being framed for being part of a stock scam. The movie begins with Norval Barnes in 1958, arriving in New York City looking for a job. He is a fresh business college graduate from Muncie, Indiana. Like every other fresh graduate, he is in desperate need of a job. In the city, he reads through every job board looking for a job opportunity. Every job opportunity that he comes across requires a certain amount of previous employment experience. Unfortunately, he struggles to get a decent job due to his lack of previous employment experience. He walks around the city, all gloomy and alone, thinking that he might end up jobless for his entire life. Next, we see a board meeting taking place at a large corporation called Hudsucker Industries. There seems to be a tense ambiance in the meeting room. The founder and president of the corporation, wearing Hudsucker, looks wrapped up in some kind of mental trauma. As he looks at a large window in front of him, he keeps staring at the window continuously. Meanwhile, Norval in his despair goes to a cafe to get a coffee. He has some newspapers laying in front of him. After drinking his coffee, he leaves his cup on one of the newspapers and exits from the cafe. Unintentionally, he made a coffee ring stain around a newspaper advertisement for a job in Hudsucker Industries as a mailroom clerk. At the board meeting, Waring stands up in the middle of the meeting and starts to walk on the table towards the large window that he kept gazing at. Back at the cafe, the newspaper page with the coffee ring stain blows out of the cafe and somehow lands in Norval's legs as it's destined to. Norval looks at the newspaper and instantly spots the advertisement that's noticeable due to the large coffee ring stain. Thankfully, it was the only job without any previous employment experience required that he came across, so immediately he sets off to get there. Meanwhile, during the business meeting, Waring unexpectedly jumps through the large window from the top floor, committing suicide. Just when Norval is about to enter the Hudsucker Industries building to inquire about the job post, he's welcomed with the news of the founder's death. The other members of the board meeting barely grieve for Waring's suicide, let alone shed tears, and start to conspire against the corporation for their own benefit. Sidney J. Musburger, a member of the corporation's board of directors, is an extremely negligent and tyrannical person. Just after Waring's death, he starts to plan a scheme against the corporation's bylaws. According to Hudsucker Industries bylaws, the stock shares ought to be sold to the public after the death of the founder because he had no family or stated inheritor in his will. Musburger suggests a strategy to hire an extremely unskilled and amateurish president as a proxy to run the business. As a result of the president's incompetent approach, the stock price will automatically decrease, after which the board of directors can buy them at the price of peanuts. Meanwhile, Norval applies for the job post for the mailroom clerk and is immediately hired. On his first day on the job, Norval faces much difficulty as he's perplexed by the strictness of the corporation towards the clerks. He fears that his pay might be deducted if he does not follow the rules and deadlines, so he tries to work his butt off. Next, a blue letter arrives at the mailroom, and Norval is supposed to deliver it to Musburger. The letter is not just any ordinary letter, but a very important one stating some confidential message from Hudsucker, which was sent just before his death to Musburger. Norval is clearly instructed to deliver the letter to Musburger without any mistake. Norval anxiously gets into an elevator to go to Musburger's room, which was on the top floor. He finally enters his room, but instead of giving him the letter, Norval shows him a piece of paper with a circle drawn on it. Norval is actually trying to impress Musburger by pitching his idea for an invention that can prove to be beneficial for the corporation if they start to produce it. In his attempts to impress Musburger, Norval keeps on doing one blunder after another. He first mistakenly sets an important contract file on fire. Next, he accidentally breaks the glass of a window by throwing a dustbin onto it. Due to the broken window, some of the important pages start to fly out. Musburger tries to catch flying pages and in the process ends up hanging down the window. Norval manages to pull him back before he's about to fall to his death. Later on, Musburger can't help but think that Norval is the type of man that he's looking for to hire as a proxy for the corporation. He believes Norval to be a naive and idiotic person and thinks that he would be the perfect proxy who can aid in plunging the stock prices. In less than no time, Norval is hired as the new president of Hudsucker Industries. Just after he's assigned as the president, the stock price drastically drops and all the board members seem really happy about it. After all, that was their plan all along. All the newspaper agencies in the city are dying to get an interview with the newly elected President Norval. An editor from Manhattan Argus newspaper is in dire need of printing a story on Norval, so he assigns this task to Amy Archer, who is a competent reporter in his agency, to write an interesting story about Norval. Meanwhile, Norval tries to make his position strong in the manufacturing business. He again pitches his idea of a circle to Musburger. According to Norval, the manufacturing cost of the product will not be crazy, and it will definitely be a huge success. On the contrary, Musburger doesn't show any interest in his idea and mockingly asks him to pitch his idea to other members of the board. After being ignored for his idea, Norval goes to a cafe all gloomy and blue. There he meets the young lady, Amy Archer, who pretends to be an unfortunate girl looking for a job to overcome her financial problems. Norval feels kind of attracted to her, but since Amy's actual job is to spy on him, she does an excellent act of fainting to get a bit closer to Norval. He takes her to his office to make her feel better. At the office, Norval lays her on a couch and goes to the restroom for a few minutes. Just then, Amy gets an opportunity to look through his belongings to find anything suspicious before she wants to prove that Norval is a fake president. So she starts searching his desk to find anything informative. However, she doesn't find anything informative, except an appointment with an Achievers Club for people from Indiana. Just as Norval is about to come back from the restroom, Amy rushes back to the couch and continues her fake act of sickness. By that time, she's already guessed that Norval is a graduate from his alma mater in Muncie, Indiana. So she pretends that she's also from Indiana. Listening to this, Norval gets really happy and excited and immediately hires her as his very own secretary. Amy thinks that Norval is an extremely simple-minded and easily controllable individual. So she goes to her newspaper agency and publishes an article on the new president of the corporation, stating how big of a fool he is. The next day, the article is read by everyone, including Norval, who's infuriated to see him being called an idiot. He asks Amy to write a heated reply to the writer of the article. Little does he know that the writer of the article is the personal secretary that he just hired. He says many bad things about the article writer, and Amy can't help control her anger. Amy endures his bad words for herself and manages to control her anger against him. One night, Amy snoops through the building in search of clues and finds a secret tunnel that leads to the clock at the top of the building. There she meets Moses, the man who operates the tower's giant clock and knows each and everything regarding Hudsucker. Moses is aware that Amy's an undercover reporter from a newspaper agency. He tells her everything about Musburger's strategy and how he wants to plunge the stock prices. Amy thinks that she's found an interesting piece of news, so she goes straight to her editor with the story, exposing the board of directors' illegal scheming. Unfortunately, the editor does not believe a single word she says and refuses to publish her story unless she gets some concrete proof to back it. At the company's annual Christmas gala, Norval is ignored by all the businessmen. Two of the board members' wives accompany him and tease him with Amy. One of them tells him her love story, that she was also her husband's secretary before they got married. This implants a feeling in Norval's heart regarding Amy. Just then, Musburger accompanies Norval and introduces him to other stockholders. All of them had a perception that Norval is an incompetent businessman, so they secretly mock him. Norval then offends one of the stockholders and his wife by saying a wrong phrase in the Finnish language, and in return gets punched in his face. Shortly after getting beaten, Amy finds Norval in a room with his face bruised, so she applies ice to his wound. Amy feels bad for Norval and gathers the courage to tell him the truth about her true identity, but instead, they both feel attracted towards each other and share a romantic lip lock. The next day, Norval calls for a meeting again where he pitches his same circle idea that's later called a hula hoop. The other board members agree to produce his invention in hopes that it will flop and plunge the company's stock price even further. Initially, the sales for the hula hoop aren't as good, and stores begin to decrease their price more and more. At last, the hula hoops are thrown onto the street since no one wants to purchase them. Then one kid comes across the hula hoop and starts to play creatively with it, making other kids want to join the fun. So the hula hoop begins to be the talk of the town, and later an enormous success. But just like every other big businessman, Norval also becomes arrogant and a negligent business tycoon after his success. The corporation's stock price ascends much higher than they ever were. The board members are horrified to see Norval's success and also their plan come to pieces. Amy hears the news about the corporation's firing 80% of the staff. She's infuriated with the news and bursts into Norval's office to confront him. Norval doesn't seem to have an answer for her and quietly ignores her. Annoyed by Norval's new, egotistic attitude, Amy decides to leave him despite the love that she has in her heart for him. Later, the elevator operator named Buzz manages to get into Norval's office and pitches his idea of a new invention, which he called the Flexi Straw. Norval, who's become an arrogant businessman, dismisses his idea, calls him an idiot, and immediately fires him from his job. Next, a janitor of the corporation, named Aloysius, finds out about Amy's true identity and informs Musburger about it. He hands him over a confidential file containing Amy's pictures of her and previous articles to Musburger. Musburger conspires a new plan against Norval. This time he plans to play with his mind using false documents. He meets Norval and tells him that Buzz is claiming that the hula hoop idea was initially his and was eventually stolen from him. He also tells Norval about the true identity of Amy, his former secretary who was actually an undercover reporter pretending to be someone else. Musburger further lies to him by showing him a false expose in Amy's name, claiming that she wants to bring Norval down. Musburger tells Norval that he will be dismissed as president after the new year due to his countless silly mistakes. Musburger even tries to convince the board that Norval is not in the right state of mind and that he must be sent to a psychiatric hospital. After being mentally disturbed by all the chaos, Norval gets drunk in a bar on New Year's Eve. Amy finds him there and apologizes to him for not revealing her true identity before. However, Norval does not forgive her and leaves the bar enraged. Outside the bar, he meets Buzz, who punches him in the face and sends an angry mob behind Norval. Norval manages to run away from the mob and gets into the Hudsucker building. He goes to the top floor and changes into his old mailroom uniform. Since he's drunk and gloomy, he climbs out onto the ledge and wants to commit suicide just like Hudsucker. All of a sudden, he slips but manages to hold onto the ledge with one of his hands. The janitor, Aloysius, locks him out and emotionally stands there watching him slip. Just when Norval falls, the clockman Moses stops the building clock, which in turn stops time. Norval is frozen in the air when Waring appears as an angel, asking him to read the blue letter that was supposed to be delivered to Musburger. Interesting, the letter is still in Norval's mailroom uniform pocket that he's wearing. The blue letter contains instructions from Hudsucker transferring his shares to his immediate successor as president, rather than to the public, which was previously stated in the company's bylaws. The immediate successor would have been Musburger, only if he hadn't planned this vicious scheme to elect Norval. Meanwhile, Moses fights Aloysius, finally defeating him, and Norval safely lands on the ground. Later, he and Amy get back together. The new year, 1959, progresses. Musburger finds out about the blue letter and attempts to commit suicide. He's then sent to the same psychiatric hospital to get mental help. Meanwhile, Norval becomes the legitimate president of Hudsucker Industries. He comes up with a new invention for kids called a Frisbee, which also turns out to be a huge success for the company. This is how the movie ends. It's got a rating of 7.2 on IMDb. I hope you all liked this video. If yes, then make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more movie recaps.